You are 30 years old and you groan when you stand up from the floor. Or you are 40 and you realize one morning that you have not sat cross-legged since you were a child. That getting down to the ground and back up again has become something you quietly avoid without ever deciding to avoid it. Not from injury, not from illness. You just stopped and the body adapted to the stopping. You go to the gym, you eat reasonably well. On paper, you are taking care of yourself. But drop something on the ground and watch what happens when you go to pick it up. The hesitation, the stiffness, the small preparation before the movement. Your body is negotiating with a task that should require no thought. Something is wrong. And it started long before today. In the Tamba region of Japan in 1682, a physician named Kagawa Shwan documented something that puzzled him. The farmers and monks he treated in their 70s and 80s moved with a freedom that his wealthy patients in their 40s had already lost, not better fed, not more medically attended. The wealthy patients had chairs, carriages, soft beds, and servants who carried things. The farmers squatted in rice fields. The monks sat on wooden floors. The craftsmen knelt at their work for hours. They moved in ways that modern comfort had eliminated for the wealthy. Kagawa wrote in his journals, "The body that is spared all effort becomes the body that can make no effort. The joints that are never asked to bend forget that they can. You are not aging. You are adapting perfectly to a life that has asked your body to do almost nothing." In Okinawa today, 90-year-old women squat to their gardens, sit cross-legged for meals, and stand back up without using their hands, without pain, without thinking about it. They move at 90 the way you cannot move at 30 or 40. That is not genetics. That is a body that was never asked to stop moving the way it was designed to. 10 habits from Japanese tradition: farmers, monks, craftsmen, samurai. 10 micro-practices that together take 35 minutes, each one targeting a specific thing that modern life has quietly taken from your body. Subscribe and let's begin. The story behind the habits. In 17th century Japan, a swordsman named Miyamoto Musashi wrote in his journals about something that puzzled him in his later years. He had met warriors with superior technique who had aged into immobility by their 40s. Men who could execute perfect form in their prime and could barely walk without pain by 60. And he had met old men, farmers and monks and craftsmen who at 70 and 80 moved with a fluidity that younger warriors envied. The difference was not the training. It was the living. The farmers who spent their days squatting, kneeling, carrying and walking on uneven ground had maintained what the warriors practicing only in the dojo had lost. The monks who sat on floors, breathed from the abdomen, and moved through their temples in slow, deliberate patterns had preserved what intensive sword practice had slowly damaged. The warriors were training harder. The farmers and monks were living better, and living better in terms of what the body required was winning. Musashi wrote, "The body is the sword. A sword not maintained becomes useless. A sword maintained becomes more itself over time." He spent his final years in a cave on a mountain practicing the same simple movements every morning, not the elaborate techniques of combat, the basic maintenance of the instrument that had served him for 60 years. The walking, the breathing, the sitting on floors, the slow movements that kept every joint oiled and every muscle at its natural length. This is what these 10 habits come from. Not a fitness program, not an anti-aging protocol. Just the basic daily movement that human bodies were designed to do and that modern life quietly took away. Each habit is simple. Together they cover the entire body, 35 minutes woven into existing activities the way the Japanese have always practiced them, while eating, while walking, while preparing for sleep. Habit 1. Seiza, the warrior's kneel. Time required 2 minutes daily. Every samurai training session began and ended the same way. Seiza kneeling on the floor with the shins flat, tops of the feet against the ground, sitting back on the heels, spine upright. This was not ritual, it was maintenance. Specifically, maintenance of the 3 joints that modern chair sitting destroys fastest: ankles, knees, and hips. Try it right now. Get on the floor. Kneel with your shins flat. Sit back toward your heels. Tops of your feet flat against the ground. If you feel immediate pain in your ankles or tightness in your quads, that is not injury, that is rust. That is your body telling you exactly how much range of motion the chair has taken. Most people reading this will feel it. The ankles, especially the ankle joint, requires regular movement through its full range to stay mobile. Shoes and flat surfaces have been preventing this movement for decades. The joint tightened, the muscles shortened. Now, the position that every human body should be able to hold comfortably produces pain. If full Seiza is too painful, place a rolled towel under your ankles and a folded blanket between your heels and glutes. Start with 30 seconds. Add 15 seconds each day. Within 3 weeks, most people can sit in full Seiza for 2 minutes with no pain. Within 2 months, the towel and blanket are gone. The joint has regained what it lost. The Japanese do not do Seiza as exercise. They do it while eating, while having tea, while watching television. It is woven into life so seamlessly that the ankle and knee mobility it maintains is never thought about. That is the point. The maintenance happens without thinking about maintenance. 2 minutes every day. That is what it takes to maintain the lower body joints that chairs are slowly destroying. Habit 2. Rajio Taiso. The morning oiling time required 3 minutes daily. Every morning at 6:30 across Japan, millions of people from school children to 90-year-old retirees stand outside and perform the same 3-minute routine. It has been broadcast on national radio since 1928, nearly a century of daily practice. It is called Rajio Taiso Radio Calisthenics, and it is the reason elderly Japanese people move differently from elderly people almost anywhere else on Earth. It is not exercise, it is joint lubrication. Think of a machine that has been sitting overnight. The gears have stiffened. The oil has settled at the bottom. A mechanic does not start the machine at full power. They warm it up, let the parts move slowly, oil the joints before demanding performance. Your body is that machine. After 7 or 8 hours of sleep in one position, your synovial fluid, the natural lubricant inside every joint, has settled. Your fascia, the connective tissue wrapping every muscle, has tightened slightly around the position you slept in. Your nervous system has been in repair mode, not movement mode. This is why you feel stiff every morning, not because you are old, because you have not been oiled yet. Rajio Taiso oils every joint in 3 minutes. The sequence: neck rotations, shoulder circles, side bends, hip circles, knee bends, ankle rotations, arm swings, gentle spinal twists. Each movement slow, controlled, circular, not stretching to pain, not warming up for exercise, oiling, moving each joint gently through its full arc. So the synovial fluid redistributes, the fascia releases, and the body remembers it is a moving system rather than a static one. You do not need to learn the official NHK broadcast routine. The principle is what matters. Every morning before coffee, before your phone, before anything else, move every major joint in your body through its full circle. Neck, shoulders, spine, hips, knees, ankles. 3 minutes gentle circles, no forcing, no stretching to the point of discomfort. The effect is immediate, and it is not subtle. After 3 minutes of Rajio Taiso, the morning stiffness is gone, not reduced, gone. Because you have given the body the one thing it needed, movement. After 1 week of daily morning oiling, most people report that the stiffness they had assumed was just getting older has reduced by more than half. After 1 month, the morning cracking and popping decreases dramatically, not because you built muscle or improved flexibility, because you maintained the lubrication system that was quietly drying up from daily neglect. The samurai oiled their swords every single day, not when the blade began to rust. Every day, because a blade oiled daily never rusts. A blade oiled only after rust appears is already damaged. Your joints work identically. 3 minutes every morning before the day begins to compress what the night released. Habit 3. Floor living the Okinawan transition. The average Okina centenarian gets up and down from the floor approximately 30 times per day. Every meal on the floor, every conversation on the floor, every rest period on the floor. Each of those 30 transitions down and back up is a full body mobility drill. Deep squat, hip hinge, core engagement, ankle flexion, knee bend, spinal rotation. 30 repetitions of the most comprehensive movement pattern in existence, and they do not know they are exercising. They are just living. Compare that to your day. Bed to chair, chair to car, car to office chair to couch, couch to bed. 0 floor transitions. Your muscles, joints, and balance system never solve the problem of getting down and getting back up. And when they stop solving it, they lose the ability to solve it. Research on elderly populations has found that the ability to sit on the floor and stand back up without using hands is one of the strongest single predictors of lifespan. Not cardiovascular fitness, not strength, the floor transition. Because when that mobility disappears, everything else tends to follow shortly after. The fix requires no extra time, just a different location for existing activities. Eat one meal on the floor, not at a table. On the ground, cross-legged, kneeling, sitting in whatever position is accessible today. Getting down and getting back up is the medicine. The meal is just the reason. Watch one show on the floor instead of the couch. The floor has no back support. Your body will naturally shift between positions because it has to. Cross-legged to legs, extended to kneeling to side sitting. That natural shifting is exactly what the couch has been preventing. Every shift is a hip flexor stretch, a spinal rotation, a change in loading that keeps the joints alive. The first week, the floor feels hard and uncomfortable. That is the body rediscovering a surface it forgot existed. By the second week, it feels normal. By the first month, the transitions down and up start to feel less effortful. By 3 months, you will understand why the Okinawan centenarians never thought of getting off the floor as an exercise. 1 floor session per day. No extra time. The meal happens anyway. The show happens anyway. Just move them to the ground. Habit 4. Hadashi. Barefoot time. Time required. 10 minutes daily. Your feet have 26 bones, 33 joints, and over 100 muscles. They were designed to grip, balance, push, and adapt to every surface they encounter. They have been locked inside supportive shoes since you were a child. Shoes that grip for them, shoes that balance for them, shoes that flatten every surface, so the foot never has to do anything except sit inside the shoe and hope for the best. The result is predictable. The intrinsic muscles of the foot have weakened. The arch has flattened or overcompensated. The ankle has lost its adaptive range. The chain reaction travels upward. Weak feet mean unstable ankles. Unstable ankles mean compensating knees. Compensating knees mean overloaded hips. Overloaded hips mean a compressed lower back. Everything starts at the foot. And most people never address the foot. The samurai trained barefoot on wooden floors, grass, sand, and rock. Not by choice, because that was the environment. And the constant micro-adaptation of the foot kept the entire kinetic chain above it healthy. 10 minutes of barefoot walking daily on any natural surface. Grass is ideal. Sand is better. Even bare feet on a wooden floor for 10 minutes wakes up the intrinsic muscles that have been sleeping inside your shoes. Start on grass if possible. Walk slowly. Feel each step. The foot will grip slightly. Adjust. Balance in ways it has not been asked to in years. The sensory feedback from the ground travels up through the nervous system and activates muscles from the arch, through the ankle, through the calf that shoes have been doing the work of. This is not comfortable for the first week. The foot is weak. Let it strengthen. Within 2 weeks, the foot feels more alive. Within a month, the ankle feels more stable. Within 3 months, the lower back often feels better for reasons that seem disconnected until you understand the chain. The foot is the foundation. Fix the foundation and everything above it responds. Habit 5. Uneven terrain. Walking the spinal reset. Time required 20 minutes daily. Your spine is designed to move in 6 directions. Forward bend, backward bend, left side bend, right side bend, left rotation, right rotation. Count how many of those directions your spine moved through today. If you are being honest, probably 1. A forward hunch toward a screen. The discs between your vertebrae need multi-directional movement to stay hydrated and healthy. Without it, they dry out, flatten, and degenerate. This is why people shrink as they age, not bone loss. Disc compression from decades of single-direction loading. Modern humans walk on flat paved surfaces. The spine barely moves. Every step is identical to the last. The ankles stay in one plane. The hips track straight forward. The entire lower body has been reduced to a single repeated motion on a surface that requires nothing adaptive from it. The samurai had no concrete. They walked through mountains, through rice fields, across rocky riverbeds. Every uneven surface forced the ankle to adapt to a different angle. Every slope forced the hip to rotate. Every stone required the spine to bend, extend, and twist in micro-adjustments that happened thousands of times per walk. A single day of walking on natural terrain moved their spines through all 6 directions without a single deliberate exercise. This was not training, it was transportation, and it kept their spines decompressed and functional into old age. 20 minutes of walking on uneven terrain daily, a park with trails, a hillside, grass instead of pavement, rocky paths if accessible. Your ankles have to work, your spine has to adapt. The balance system has to engage with every step instead of switching off on predictable flat ground. If genuine uneven terrain is not accessible, walk on grass instead of pavement. Walk barefoot on grass. Combining this with habit 4. Even the minor irregularity of grass compared to pavement requires significantly more adaptive movement from the ankle, hip, and spine. The 20 minutes does not need to be a dedicated walk. Walk to somewhere you would have driven. Take the route with the park instead of the pavement. Use the stairs instead of the elevator, particularly if the stairs are old and slightly uneven. The spine that moves in multiple directions daily does not compress the same way as the spine that only hunches forward. After 2 weeks of daily terrain walking, most people notice their lower back feels less tight by evening. After a month, the morning stiffness in the upper back reduces. After 3 months, the overall quality of movement changes in a way that is difficult to explain but immediately noticeable. Habit 6. Fukkin Undo floor core. Time required, 3 minutes daily. The samurai did not train abs for aesthetics. They trained the deep core, the muscles surrounding the spine and connecting the rib cage to the pelvis. Because a warrior without a stable core collapses under contact. Fukkin Undo. Traditional Japanese core conditioning was not crunches. It was controlled, deliberate engagement of the deep stabilizing muscles through simple floor movements, primarily variations of hollow body positions, leg raises, and controlled breathing under tension. The deep core is different from the surface abs most people train. The surface muscles flex the spine. The deep muscles stabilize it. They are what prevent the lower back from buckling under load, from compressing under prolonged sitting, from giving out when you pick something up from the floor. After years of chair sitting, the deep core has been largely inactive. The chair provides the stability the core was designed to provide. The muscles stop working because they are not needed, and when they stop working, the spine is left without its primary protective system. 3 minutes of floor core daily starts to reverse this. Lie on your back. Press your lower back flat against the floor. Hold your legs 6 inches off the ground for 30 seconds. This is not a high-intensity exercise. It is a wake-up call to muscles that have been sleeping. Rest for 15 seconds. Repeat 3 times. That is 3 minutes. Your deep core begins to activate. Over weeks, the activation becomes more reliable. Over months, it becomes automatic. The spine has its protective system back. Lower back pain, the most common complaint of sedentary life, often reduces significantly within 6 to 8 weeks of consistent deep core activation. Not because the pain was caused by weakness in the surface muscles, because it was caused by instability in the deep ones. Habit 7. Hara Breathing, the internal reset. Time required 3 minutes daily. Every Japanese martial art begins and ends with the same instruction. Breathe from the Hara. The lower abdomen 2 inches below the navel. Right now you are breathing into your chest. Your shoulders rise. Your neck tenses. This is stress breathing. It activates your sympathetic nervous system, tightens your upper body, compresses your spine, and locks your rib cage into a defensive position. You do this 20,000 times per day. 20,000 micro-compressions of your spine. 20,000 tightening signals to your shoulders and neck. Over years, this breathing pattern physically reshapes your body into the hunched, compressed form you have been trying to stretch out of. Hara breathing reverses this. You breathe into the lower belly. Your shoulders stay down. Your diaphragm descends fully, creating space in your rib cage, decompressing your lower back and activating your parasympathetic nervous system. The system that tells every muscle in your body to release tension. One deep Hara breath does more for spinal decompression than 5 minutes of stretching because stretching fights the tension mechanically. Hara breathing turns off the signal that creates the tension. 5 Hara breaths 3 times daily, morning, midday, evening. Place one hand on your lower belly. Breathe in through the nose for 4 counts, directing the air downward. The hand pushes outward. Hold for 2 counts. Exhale slowly for 6 counts, feeling the belly draw inward. After 1 week, your resting shoulder position drops. After 2 weeks, your lower back tension decreases. After 1 month, people will notice you standing differently without being able to explain why. Habit 8. Mokuso stillness before movement. Time required, 2 minutes daily. Before every training session, samurai sat in Mokuso, silent meditation, 2 minutes of absolute stillness, eyes closed, breathing slow, transitioning from whatever the mind was doing to complete presence with what the body was about to do. This was not spiritual practice, it was neurological preparation. The quality of movement is determined by the quality of attention brought to the movement. When you begin physical practice while your mind is elsewhere planning the day, reviewing yesterday, checking what needs to be done after the movements are performed but not felt, the body goes through the positions. The nervous system is not fully engaged. The therapeutic effect of the movement is a fraction of what it could be. 2 minutes of stillness changes this completely. The nervous system shifts from background processing to present awareness. The body becomes the primary object of attention rather than an afterthought. The movements that follow are felt, not just performed, and felt movement produces genuinely different results than unfelt movement, both in terms of physical benefit and in terms of the quality of practice that becomes possible over time. Sit quietly, eyes closed, breathe slowly, give the mind 2 minutes to arrive in the body. Notice the weight of the body on the floor. Notice the breath. Notice any tension present, not to fix anything, to arrive, then begin. The practice that follows will be different from practice begun in distraction, not more intense, more present, and presence is the variable that determines whether daily practice produces real change or just the appearance of it. Habit 9. Tate Hiza. The daily squat. Time required. 2 minutes daily. The deep squat is arguably the most important functional movement the human body can perform. It requires full ankle dorsiflexion, full hip flexion, full knee flexion, and a neutral spine simultaneously. Every structure from the foot to the lower back is involved. In most traditional cultures, including Japan, the squat was a default resting position. People squatted while cooking, while talking, while waiting, while working, not as exercise. As the natural alternative to standing, Tate Hiza is the samurai variant. 1 knee down, 1 foot flat on the ground, the body in a deep lunge squat position. Used as a resting stance during long periods of waiting, it maintained the hip flexors, quads, and ankles in their full range. Most people in modern cultures cannot perform a full deep squat. The ankles have lost dorsiflexion. The hips have tightened. The lower back cannot stay neutral in the position. This is not an age problem. Children in cultures that squat regularly maintain the position effortlessly into old age. Children in chair-dependent cultures lose it by their teens. It represents the single most comprehensive loss of functional mobility that sedentary life produces. 2 minutes of squat practice daily. Start with whatever depth is accessible without pain. Heels elevated on a folded towel if the ankles prevent full depth. Hold for 30 seconds, stand, repeat 4 times. Each week reduce the heel elevation slightly. The ankle range returns slowly, but it returns. After 2 or 3 months, most people reach full depth. After 6 months, it feels like a rest position rather than an effort. The deep squat restored is the lower body restored. When you can squat fully, everything above the hips works differently, better, the way it was designed to. Habit 10. Yoru No Shizukesa. The evening release time required, 5 minutes daily. The samurai ended every day the way they began it, in deliberate stillness on the floor. Not stretching aggressively, not reviewing performance. Simple floor positions held without force, allowing the compression accumulated through the day to slowly release. The body compresses across the day from gravity, from sitting, from movement and impact. The spine, hips and shoulders accumulate tension that, if not released before sleep, is carried into the night and reinforced by 8 hours of sleeping in the compressed state. Most people go from the couch directly to bed. The compression of the day becomes the compression of the night. 8 hours of sleep locked into a body that went to sleep already tight. The morning stiffness that follows is not from sleep. It is from the day before, compounded by the night. 5 minutes of evening floor positions before sleep changes this. Lie on your back with your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor. Let the lower back release toward the ground. Notice the space between the lower back and the floor. Breathe slowly. With each exhale, let that space reduce slightly. 2 minutes. Bring one knee to your chest, hold for 30 seconds, switch sides. Feel the hip release. End lying flat with legs extended, arms at your sides, breathing slowly into the lower belly. Let the floor support the entire weight of the body. 5 slow breaths. This is not a stretching routine, it is decompression. The spine lengthens slightly. The hips release. The nervous system shifts from the activation of the day toward the recovery of sleep. The sleep that follows is different, deeper. The body that wakes is less stiff. The morning Rajio Taiso requires less work because there is less compression to move through the habits compound on each other. Evening release makes morning oiling more effective. Morning oiling makes the day's movement more fluid. The day's movement reduces the evening's compression. The system feeds itself. 5 minutes every evening. The complete system. 10 habits, 37 minutes total. Here is how they fit together and how to build them without overwhelming yourself. How to build them. Do not attempt all 10 at once. That is the fastest way to do none of them consistently. Week 1, Rajio Tao, only 3 minutes every morning. No exceptions. Week 2, add SA. Replace 2 minutes of chair sitting with floor sitting. Week 3, add the evening floor release 5 minutes before sleep. Week 4, add the terrain walk. 20 minutes on anything that is not flat pavement. Week 5, add Hara Breathing. 5 breaths 3 times daily. Week 6, add barefoot time 10 minutes daily on any natural surface. Week 7, add Mokuso 2 minutes before any morning practice. Week 8, add Fukkin Undo 3 minutes of floor core. Week 9, add Tate Hiza 2 minutes of squat practice. Week 10, add floor living. 1 meal or 1 television session on the ground daily. By week 10, all 10 habits are running simultaneously. 35 minutes, a body that is receiving the maintenance it was always designed to require. What this means for you, you are not old. You are adapted to a life that never asks your body to do what it was designed to do. Here is what that adaptation looks like in numbers. The human body was designed to move through approximately 200 different positions per day. Squatting, kneeling, sitting cross-legged, reaching overhead, twisting, bending, lunging. Your joints, connective tissue and muscles are built for that variety. Constant shifting between positions keeps everything lubricated, flexible and alive. Most people in modern life use 3 to 4 positions per day. Chair, standing, lying down, maybe walking on flat ground. 3 to 4 out of 200, your body adapted to the demand you placed on it. It shortened what it no longer needed at full length. It calcified what it no longer needed to flex. It atrophied what it no longer needed to activate. Not because it failed, because it succeeded perfectly at becoming exactly what you asked it to be. You asked it to be a chair-sitting machine, it obliged. The Okinawan centenarians did not develop a longevity program. They simply never stopped living in a way that asked their bodies to move fully. The squatting, the floor-sitting, the walking on uneven ground, the breathing from the abdomen. These were not interventions. They were baseline human movement that their environment still required. Modern life eliminated the requirement. These 10 habits reintroduce it. None of them are difficult. All of them require patience across months rather than results across days. The rust that accumulated over years does not dissolve in a week, but it dissolves. Range of motion returns. Pain decreases. The cracking stops. The groaning when you pick something up from the floor stops. Not because you have gotten younger, because your body has been given back the movement it was always designed for. The samurai maintained their blade daily, not weekly, not when it rusted. Every day your body is the blade, 35 minutes every day. The maintenance is not complicated, it never was. It was just forgotten. Start remembering. Musashi spent his final years in a cave on a mountain in Japan. He practiced the same simple movements every morning, not the elaborate combat techniques that had made him famous. The basic maintenance of the instrument that had served him for 60 years. He walked, he breathed, he sat on the floor, he moved through the simple patterns that kept the body functional, not as a warrior, but as a living thing that needed to remain capable of being fully alive. He died at 60, active and capable, until close to the end. The Okinawan woman who squats to her garden at 90 is doing the same thing without knowing it. She never stopped. The body never forgot. You have spent years in a life that asked your body to stay still. The body adapted perfectly, and now the stillness feels like aging. It is not aging, it is adaptation, and adaptation can be reversed. 10 habits, 35 minutes. Start with Rajio Taiso tomorrow morning. 3 minutes, that is all. The rusting stops when the movement begins. Comment below. The blade stays sharp. Subscribe to masterzen for ancient wisdom tested by time and confirmed by science. New video every week. You are not getting old. You are getting still. There is a difference. Start moving.